Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ladies of the PGS. I am your host, RM. And of course, today we have with us Lorena Creole. Lorena, how are you tonight?
I am doing great, doing wonderful, and as always, so glad to be here on the Burnettwork and with all of you out there in the chat or watching this on a live stream.
Absolutely,
Sorry,
Lorena.
replay.
Right. Yes. Oh, absolutely. Guys, please do click like and subscribe. And I did want to say, Lorena, we certainly do have some interesting things to talk about tonight. And I do want to start off with the Chris Rock special because this was the first live event on Netflix. And Chris Rock, who is known very well for his stand up, I've been watching him do stand up forever, and movies and pretty much everything that has to do with comedy, had kind of a no holds barred show, which you were telling me about. I know Tom Jr. Jackson was watching it and telling me about it. And it was like a breath of fresh air because it was unabashedly truthful about the nonsense that's going on. He just wanted to make fun of it all. And that's what the heart of comedy is making fun of these, silly things, just having a laugh. And it was just so refreshing. Lorena, you obviously got a chance to see it, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, I have to say, I really loved it. I think that Chris Rock really has been able to kind of come into his own. He took his time. It's a year since the incident where he was assaulted by Will Smith, and he even addresses that. In fact, there isn't anything he doesn't address. He's incredibly current, right on point, talking about so many things that people are concerned about. And I absolutely love that he did this. It's really I feel like he's almost propelled himself even into greater popularity with this special. What do you think, Lorena?
I really do. I really do. But first off, I actually want to say one of the cool things that they did was like this pre-show, and they brought out like all these comics that used to be on stage with Chris Rock. Like we remember from like Kings of Comedy, all kinds of places, and just brought them, out there. And even Arsenio Hall, was there. But this special reminds me of the one that Dave Chappelle did on Netflix with respect to telling it like it is and making everybody uncomfortable and yet busting their sides laughing at just the fundamental truths that are out there from the craziness that's going on, in our society, just like the so-called cancel culture, even badass kids who aren't getting, consequences for their actions. And yes, especially on down to what happened with Will Smith. So I'm glad he came out with that. Like you said, he took his time. I almost want to say it almost seems like it was right off the top of his head that he's probably been practicing for years, but he dropped some serious fundamental truths. And I had fun laughing, fun covering my mouth, even laughing at the part where he talks about him visiting Disney and how his kids are so privileged to visit Disney. He's like, shoot, I used to visit Disney back in the day with, I knew Goofy. Hung out with Minnie Mouse. Well, he said something a little different, something analogous to smoking a certain kind of herb with Goofy. But talking about, having to go on a church bus from New York to Orlando and it had no air conditioning in it
Mhm,
and
mhm.
having to stay in like this seedy motel. I mean, just he was just saying stuff that people could just identify with regardless of who you were. And even when he went into racial topics, it wasn't to shame anyone, because see, this is what it used to be. Like, they would talk about comedy with respect to racial lines, but it wasn't insulting type of comedy. And it's kind of like, if you think, you're laughing now, wait, your turn's coming up next. Everybody had an equal opportunity to be offended, which is what makes comedy what it is. No one should be safe at all, at all. But yeah, this was funny. This was absolute. I love this. I freaking love this. I watched it twice.
I agree, Lorena. And I have to say, here, obviously, in this Deadline article where it says Chris Rock's TKO's Will Smith's Oscar slap and selective outrage in Netflix live special Don't Fight in Front of White People. Comic says his parents taught him. There were a lot of lessons in this, Lorena. He made a lot of great points. As I said, it's like it definitely is a comeback. He's topped what happened from last year. This is really a lot of critics are saying, how amazing he has been, this way, and how, this is kind of like his comeback in a sense. Not that he was ever out, but because he was already hosting the Oscars.
Oh yeah.
He wasn't. You can't be out and kind of out of the picture and host an Oscar ceremony. But he was already in there. Now this is like such a great situation because as I said, he took the time to do this, and I think he made his points so effective when he talked about this selective outrage, how people are outraged, their double standards that they have, how unfair people are being treated. It's okay if one person says it, but when another person says it, they want to just go ahead and destroy them. And I think that these things do need to be addressed, and using comedy to address it. I wasn't quite sure how I'd feel about it, but it did feel really good to just have somebody say these things that we know are true, more or less. He also talked about victimization. I know he talked about Harry and Meghan. And I also found that refreshing because, we all know that there are certain things that they're saying that don't necessarily ring true. But it is good that even he could feel, the situation where they are relevant. And he's going to go ahead and make a butt of the joke. After all, their deal is on Netflix, right, Lorena?
Yes, it is.
So, I really have to say that his timing of this is impeccable. Right before the Oscars are about to come out, he very smoothly, very casually had his show. He even talked about, I think it was, he couldn't ignore what happened last year at the last Oscars, but I like what he did to address it, Lorena. He didn't, skirt around it. He went direct to it. And he even talked about how he's auditioning for certain roles and that are appropriate for him to audition for versus, Will Smith. I thought that was very clever. Looking at kind of, this notion of, their relationship before and after and what it means to be a professional. He was incredibly professional for a show that is about comedy meant to kind of, have a laugh at everything. So I gotta say, I really enjoyed this. It was refreshing to see how thoughtful and how deep he went personally when he talked about his daughter, as you mentioned, and he had to teach her that lesson. He did so many different topics in this short time. Lorena, I could see him going on tour and doing this and continuing this on. It's a win-win for Chris Rock.
Absolutely. Chris Rock probably got so much money from this Netflix special, he probably didn't even have to work this past year if he didn't, if he didn't want to. And yeah, exactly like you were saying, he's pointing out the selective outrage. Like, I love the segment he did about the Lululemon leggings.
Yes.
I freaking can't stand that place. Expensive ass yoga pants with ugly freaking ass patterns, but yet they want to say we're non-racist and blah 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 and whatever. And he's just like, I don't know about you, but shoot, I think I'd prefer a pair of $20 racist yoga pants over 100 pair of non-racist yoga pants any day of the week.
But he makes a good point with it,
He
Lorena.
made a completely good point about that.
Yeah, and I think that people don't have to feel guilty because they want to buy a pair of $20 pants and the company isn't declaring its, solidarity. Companies, nobody should feel guilty for these reasons. And the notion of making people feel guilty because they enjoy something that has absolutely nothing to do with any of these social issues, we know isn't right. And he makes a laugh at it. And I think he needed to say something about it because of the notion of its importance. And we're not even talking, what I always say, we start, not us, but some of these other organizations start to talk about the importance of solidarity. And we're not even talking about entertainment anymore, Lorena. I want to laugh. I want to be entertained. I want to, listen to these jokes and hear the words of wisdom. He starts talking about, and he came out with that, the unpronounceable symbol for Prince on his neck, which I noticed right away. And
I love that.
This is going to be good. He talks about how, Michael Jackson songs, but not R. Kelly. Like, who is okay
Mhm.
to listen to? What is okay to wear? These sorts of things that we know don't really mean anything in the end, unless somebody goes ahead and decides that's going to be their benchmark. But in reality, it's probably manufactured at the same company. Those $20 leggings are probably manufactured at the same place that the
They're at the same factory in Vietnam being produced.
yes.
That's it.
Yes, and he also, as I said, he talked about how uh, that protesting with the Capitol
Oh
riot,
my god!
you're protesting against
I
yourself.
was in tears when he dropped that Planet of the Apes reference. I had to pause
Mhm.
because I was laughing so hard. I wasn't paying attention to anything that he said after that.
But it's something to think about. I mean, I think he had a lot of provocative comments about stuff that, was essentially what they could have just gone to their, congressperson and said, "Hey, we want you to do something different."
Mhm.
And the congressperson would said, "Okay, sure, I represent you. I'll do something different." It didn't have to escalate to we're going to storm anything. We can actually request changes and they can get done. So it's not an impossible thing to do. So that's what
Mhm.
I found very funny. A bunch of those guys, instead of wasting their time doing that, they could have gone ahead and run for Congress and maybe even won and be making changes right now. So that's how I looked at it. I think that he was very practical about this. The notion of just people wasting their time.
Right?
Um,
Exactly, wasting their time, well, wasting their time because it wasn't done in the right way. Optics are everything, whether, you agree with it or not. But the optics of that are not going to be forgotten, and they could have gone about it in a much more productive way, but this is the way they decided to go about it.
And this is maybe one of the first times I've ever even heard anybody talk about it. And I think he chose to talk about it because of the absurdity of it in the context that he's talking about, knowing very
Mhm.
well they could have just voted out those guys and put in new people. This isn't something that's impossible. It happens every 4 years or every 6 years, or depending upon what is possible. Anything is possible in this country. So it's not like this is a dictatorship and we can never change it or something, right? So it was just very funny, informative. I think he also showed a bit of his playfulness in some of it, where he talks about how it getting hit actually hurt. I
Mhm.
thought that was very bold and it was truthful. He also talks about the guy played Muhammad Ali and he was like, "What did I play?" Like in what the size difference and everything. So it was
Mhm.
certainly an admission of his true feelings, and this was really, I think, propelled him. I almost feel like this is one of those. To me, this was like Raw for Eddie Murphy. This felt like Chris Rock's Raw to me, for some funny reason, because it just felt so incredibly truthful in what he was bearing his soul about how he felt about all these things. So um,
Mhm.
it really was a triumph for him, enjoyable to listen to. And I'm so glad he did it and addressed a lot of these issues that a lot of us are kind of like, enough is enough now. Somebody needs to kind of nip this in the butt. So I give him, it was a 10 out of 10 for me. What do you think, Lorena?
You know, um, that's about what I would give it, about a 9 out of 10. I would have loved for him to have gone a bit further, but you kind of have to balance that, that time, that fine line. Like some people are like, well, how come he didn't go, harder? You have to consider what's going on with the audience. It's like you could go super, super, hard and wind up your comedy just doesn't hit, as hard as it is. But I agree. I thought it was a 9. I laughed. Like I said, I haven't laughed like this, covered my mouth like this since Dave Chappelle's
Hmm.
special. He was, Chris Rock was raw. He was honest. He took it to Jada, which I appreciate. It's just like I made a joke, she said something, I made a joke, I came at her. That's how it goes, and that's pretty much what a lot of other people were saying too. It was a joke. It was an absolute joke. you knew what you were getting into, but somehow you think that you're the only person that shouldn't, have to take a joke. And then you basically have to give your husband a stare of death, because I saw that in real time. Because people were like, that was staged. I said, oh, no, 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 it wasn't. Did you? I said, look at the people around him. Like, you look at Lupita Nyong'o's face, she's just like, people are like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was not staged, and he decided to go up there and do that, and to slap her round the world. And yes, like he said, he's like, you think I'm gonna cry? No, he said, I took that hit like Manny Pacquiao.
Oh,
I died when yeah, it was good to just freaking laugh and
mhm.
not care who's offended, who's butthurt, who thinks that you're an istinophobe. It's just like, no, everybody is free game to be made fun of, and you don't have a special privilege to not be offended.
Yeah, and we also see Chris Rock can hold his own. So certainly, he's kind of, as I would like to say, Lorena, laughing all the way to the bank with this one.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, who has the last laugh? It's Chris Rock for
Mm-hmm.
sure. And there's no if, ands, or buts about it. Will Smith won his Oscar, but Chris Rock is the one who's having the last laugh here for
Yep.
me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, guys, do check out Chris Rock's special on Netflix. It was streamed live over the weekend, but you can still watch it and watch the show. It's fantastic. And we do have the super chat, Lorena, from John Superly.
Oh,
99. Thank you so much,
thank
John, for that. I love
you.
the photo. It looks like he's maybe out in the woods or somewhere. He's got his explorer hat or something on. Looking great there, John. John says, starting my Star Trek journey with the OG series. What would you advise
Mm.
I skip in regards to modern Trek, and what are your favorites? Love the show. Well, Lorena, I would just advise. I'm going to ask you for your opinion as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would advise just to watch everything before 2009, and then jump to modern day Trek with Picard season 3. But I do have to say that Deep Space Nine has always and will always be my favorite. But I do like me some Strange New Worlds with Anson Mount. I watch that show just because he's in it. So if you find if there's a star that you
Mm.
like, John, don't feel bad about watching the show. If your favorite star is in it, you go ahead and you enjoy that show. I think they gave me what I wanted. There was a bedroom scene with Anson Mount in season 1 of Strange New Worlds, and I knew they were going to give it, and I thank them for that. I can't wait for what they're going to show in season 2. Lorena, what do you think? What would you advise John Serverly?
Man, that's kind of like tough. Let's see, starting it with the OG. Okay, so you're starting it off right with TOS, original series. You must watch that
Mhm.
first. Skipping, this is just me. Skip all the Star Trek Discovery. Don't even look at it. Strange New Worlds. I just wasn't pulled in by it, so I skipped that, and just wasn't enough man candy to suck me in. Definitely Picard season 3. Do not watch seasons 1 or 2. Just don't. Just don't. It just basically stomps on next gen TNG. So skip those seasons and then go to 3. But I think that's about it. Even Star Trek Enterprise was like okay.
Yeah,
It was
I liked Enterprise as
it
well.
was it was okay. I'll probably get into trouble for this, but it is what it is. Skip Voyager,
Okay.
except for episodes that 7 of 9 is in.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I will say that.
What is your favorite series in Star Trek, Lorena? Some of
Man,
you could say more than one.
I gotta pick one.
I mean, you could say more than one if you want to.
Oh, I'm gonna have to rank them. Next Gen
Hmm.
uh is actually My second favorite used to be my absolute all-time favorite, and then I got hooked into DS9. So DS9 is my favorite, then Next Gen, then original series.
All right. Yeah, probably my same lineup as well. I did watch Voyager. I enjoyed Voyager. I did watch Enterprise, but they're towards the latter of my favorites. But I would still watch them again when if I had to, and that was all that was available, I'd watch it. But D Space Nine is the one that I cannot live without. Avery Brooks has really captured my heart forever.
Mhm.
And of course, Lorena, in regards to the movies, I like everything before '09. Pretty much, I like all of them. There isn't a movie I dislike. Although my favorite film, I would say, would have to be Generations, the one that everybody dislikes. But
Really?
I love that film.
You love that one?
Yeah.
I did not like, Star Trek 5, that movie, I just
Yeah.
no, I didn't like that. My all-time favorite Star Trek movie will forever and always be Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a fantastic film. That is.
That mm, that film still, even today, even though they kind of pulled a little bit from that
Yeah.
in, season 3 of Picard, but man, that movie is just it's just amazing. I freaking love that film.
I was
Love
lucky
it.
enough to see it in the theater again last year. You know how sometimes they bring it back,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and they brought it back. Fandang. I think it was either. It wasn't Fandango. It was another name of a company that brings the films back sometimes. And
Is it
um,
Regal?
you know who it is.
I
And
think I think I do. I know Regal sometimes does that too. They'll do, special showings of
yeah.
older films. They'll bring them back for a little bit. Yeah.
And I took mom. I said, "We're going to see Wrath of Khan." She's like, "Have we seen that right?" I'm like, "Yes." We're going to see it again. And
Mhm.
maybe again if they bring it back, and then maybe again if they bring it back. So it was fun to see it in the theater. It really did kind of set the tone, and I really enjoyed it. So John Suverly, thank you for the 4.99 super chat. That's what we would recommend to you. Enjoy the OG series for the first time. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be so much fun. To
Mhm.
enjoy it. And
Absolutely.
there's a lot of online here YouTube resources, and ask friends to watch it with you. There's nothing like watching these episodes again with friends. Um,
Mhm.
so Lorena, um, continuing on with ladies of the PGS tonight, um, Creed 3 has just done so astoundingly well in the box office, Lorena, internationally. It has
Mhm.
made over $100 million. And I personally am not surprised by this, um, mainly because of who's in it. You and I have been talking about the stars of this film for a while. We've been talking
Mhm.
about why can't I see my screen? Okay, here we go. We've been talking about we actually did a show, I think, on one of the stars of this film, and
Yes, Jonathan Majors. Yes. Mhm.
that's right. And to be honest with you, Lorena, I'm not surprised that it has made $100 million globally, because it's got Jonathan Majors and Michael P. Jordan in it. Certainly not anything to be ignored as far as I'm concerned. And guys, you're going to see a lot of advertising for some of these other films as I'm pulling stuff up, because this is Oscar week, the push when everybody, wants their films to do well. So there's going to be a lot of these advertisements for other stuff. But here it says it's enjoying a knockout opening weekend, punching up to
Mhm.
104 million globally, of which 41 million is from 75 international box office markets. That's a lot. Wow. This is they were saying internationally it's the biggest opening for the franchise. I'm assuming for the Creed spinoff. And
Mhm.
it stars even historical exchange rates. Jonathan Majors is in it. Tessa Thompson
Mhm.
stars, and how well it's doing. Honestly, I'm not surprised by this. I think it certainly is such an accomplishment for this. I haven't had a chance to see the film, but people I know who've seen it, Lorraine, have said it's fantastic.
I have so many people, that I trust have said how good, this film is. Now, I haven't seen Creed 3. As a matter of fact, I wasn't really interested in the Creed films at all, 'cause it's like, I stopped with Rocky after Rocky 5. I was like, no, not interested. Why would I want to see another Rocky sequel? But people kept telling me Creed is really good, and I saw the trailer for Creed 3 looked absolutely flipping amazing. So I went back and I watched Creed 1 and I watched Creed 2, and I was really impressed with both of those stories. I mean, it was just fabulous storytelling. It really was. And that was when they had like more of a limited budget. So with Creed 3, they had much more money to hang around with. They had that Amazon money to play around with. But from what I've heard, the storyline in this movie is really, really, really good. There's a really positive father-daughter relationship. And I have to say this, it is becoming rarer and rarer to see positive depictions of Black men with their families.
Mhm.
So you have the family connection in here that Wakanda Forever did not have. And that is what pulls in audiences. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that this movie is making so much money. It's the other ones are such a feel good movie. The other movies, it's amazing how diverse it is without tooting the horn about diversity, because you know all the characters from the Rocky movies. Everybody was in it, from all kinds of backgrounds was in it. In the end, it was like we gotta, train our fighter so he can win. It was the whole team. Same deal with this.
Absolutely, Lorena. Certainly, there is a market for more movies like this, especially with the Creed series continuing on, and the story between the two characters, the main characters, is just it's phenomenal. Of course, and it's not necessarily a spoiler in a sense because
It's
it's
in the trailer.
yeah, it's in the trailer how they were childhood friends, and one person took the fall for another, and now they're in the ring, and it really is so cool. The notion of them both having this kind of second chance to work this out. At least that's the impression I'm getting from it, or at least the notion of they're still friends. And they're you're fighting your friend in this boxing match, and what does it mean? The repercussions of having a friendship and being so close and growing up together and having that closeness, relationships between Black men, even. I think this is really a beautiful thing to see on the screen, Lorraine, regardless of what the outcome may be. Um,
Hmm.
I think it is something to be explored, and I really do like it. The only way we've ever been seeing anything like this is when you and I were watching The Best Man, the final chapters,
Hmm.
where we saw relationships like this depicted on screen. So I think it's fantastic that they chose to do this. And Jonathan Majors is certainly a formidable foe. Um, as you and I have been looking at his long list of credits, and just how great he's been doing to have so many films out now, and be
Hmm.
pretty much the lead in a lot of them. It's just really impressive what he's been doing. The same for Michael P. Jordan, being in Wakanda Forever, of course, last year, and then this film this year. It's quite
Hmm.
astounding how these two gentlemen are in the forefront of entertainment, and certainly have had a lot of chatter about their performances.
Absolutely. With Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania, Jonathan Majors, he's, an excellent actor, but I don't feel he had the material that he needed to properly showcase his performance. And honestly, I don't think Marvel is ever going to give him that kind of level of material. With Creed 3, even in the trailer, you can see how heavy this material is. And I really think his talent shines much better in Creed 3. So, looking forward to really, really good things coming from him. It's not like Jonathan Majors came out of nowhere. He's actually been doing several films over the past, I can think, let's say, like past what, 10 years or something like that.
At
10 or
least
15 years. He's been out there, and he's been in some really, really good stuff. So I'm hoping, I don't have to hope, people have told me how good Jonathan Majors is in Creed 3. So I am not surprised that this movie is outperforming Ant-Man Wasp: Quantumania. How crazy is that?
Very true, Lorena. And the hook, he is the hook in the trailer. He says something like, "Well, you owe me. I time
Mhm.
owe me," and it's like, boom, you're hooked. You know, you have to find out what's going to go on between them, because even after this fight, it's not over. I have a feeling these two. We're going to have more. There might be a film after this, Creed 4, involving both of them. I would not be surprised by it, because clearly they have fantastic chemistry on screen. They've got the physiques for this. And, you know, I've talked to you extensively about loving seeing the conditioning of these men who aren't just actors, but they are athletes here. You know,
Mhm.
the amount of work they put into making this look realistic, and it's real boxing. I just love it so much. What a treat the two of them are really giving us now. And I'm very happy that the box office has performed this well. I have a feeling they're going to continue to make bank. People are going to go and see it. You know, Easter's coming up. There's a whole bunch of kind of time where the film will still probably be out in the theaters, I think. If it continues to make 100 million and continue to gross, we might still see more of it. But I think
Mhm.
they're going to make a good amount of bank on this, and I'm very happy for them for doing this film. Indeed, it is wonderful to see these performances by these two very talented actors. And Lorena, this week we also had a very special premiere, something we've been waiting for 2 years.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Honestly, it's the premiere of The Mandalorian. Of guys, I'm sure none of you can escape this fact. The Mandalorian premiered on Wednesday,
Mhm.
and it's not a surprise. You know, in this particular article that I'm pulling up from the Hollywood Reporter talks about it's not just plot but also pleasure, and of course there is a lot of pleasure for, you know, I'm a Grogu super fan. I know you're a huge fan of Grogu. We all love this little guy, but there is a lot to think about because it's no longer season 1 or 2, and you know I can't help but wonder in a sense where it's all going to go. You know, it's as you had mentioned before, Lorena, the show is called The Mandalorian.
Right.
And a lot of people, you know, before Baby Yoda even existed or they knew that that had happened, were expecting a show about Mandalorians. And it's true there are Mandalorians in it, but the direction that I'm going in is, you know, a lot of people were thinking it was going to be more hardcore, I guess. Um,
Mhm.
and of course, I do love Grogu very much. But they here in this article, they're saying it promises more plot, but just as many pleasures. We certainly saw some amazing things in it. What did you think of the premiere, Lorena?
I thought the premiere was done very well, much better than season 2. I was extreme well, that's an understatement, extremely disappointed in the season opener for, season 2. For season 3, loved it. Started off with that urgency, you know, and it's like you had to keep watching to find out what was going on, and it had enough intrigue in it to spin off numerous paths for episodes further on down the road. So I thought it did a very, very good job, acted just as a season opener should be, and that's with a bang, in a matter of speaking. How how it started out, even how looked. It looked better. It does look better than season 2 did, if that makes any sense. It just did. Even the scene where they're in there, they're going through hyperspace, and Grogu, a cute little green booger, he's looking out and he's just looking and sees like the space wheel. I thought that was rendered so beautifully. I just thought that was cool. That was some cool, wow effects. But outside of, I want to say, the premiere episode of season 1, this is probably my second favorite.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lorena. I think that they did so many things right here with this premiere. Of course, you know, we knew we were going to see Grogu now. We knew we were going to see Mando and Grogu together, which I think a lot of people wanted to see the two of them together. Here, of
Hmm.
course, is a scene where Grogu is in the cockpit of the N1 with Mando. And there are a lot of interesting things that Grogu sees. And it is great to watch it. It was a feast for the eyes. I couldn't help but think of Florida Man, Lorena, when I saw that first scene, because it started off with the armor, and then the next thing you know, there's this giant crocodile creature I couldn't help but think of Florida Man. And I thought Lorraine's going to have a great time with this because it's straight out of Florida Man with the crocodile. It just was so enjoyable. But that's what makes it so entertaining, is that I could even look at that and say, this is fun. This is kind of enjoying and, just having a laugh at this. And, looking at how, Grogu and Din are together. Grogu's very playful in this. But they say, is there going to be more content to it? And I almost wondered a little bit, because we did see Grogu kind of reach out to another character. He had another character, and I thought to myself, does Grogu need more hugs? Does he need a pet? Maybe he has some other needs that aren't being met. You see him and he wants to kind of interact more with the world around him than we've seen ever before. But one of the things that I was really concerned about was the idea of, will the Grogu character have more gravitas to him? And will they go ahead and make his existence and things that he does have more meaning? And it is great. Like, we like to see him do different things, but I also want to see, when he is around and he makes decisions, that the decisions have a great deal of gravity to them. Meaning that it's really important because Grogu intervened here, and it was not just because he intervened and and he looks cute doing the intervention. It's because it was this was a point where only he could do this. Or, for example, one example of gravitas in it was when he noticed those creatures in hyperspace. And I'm not going to get into too much detail about it, but he did notice something. And what I liked about that was, you got the impression that, since his dad was asleep at the time, only he may have seen it. And it kind of made it seem very important that he needed to see that. I could not explain to you, Lorena, how Grogu seeing that in hyperspeed would mean anything. I don't know how they're going to fit that in the storyline, but they got to be very clever to do it. But to take the effort to do that, to go ahead and say, yeah, I'm going to put Grogu in here and he's going to notice something that's very different from what we've seen before, I thought was pretty important. And we need to see more of that. We need to see that he is there for a reason, or witnessing certain things. And of course, these are the little characters that he kind of grabs onto, and and he's holding them, kind of very tenderly. And the character's like, no, don't, kind of, it was a very cute scene. But I also wondered, it's like, maybe he needs a pet, maybe he needs to expand things. And I wonder how different his life would have been, if he did settle down the way that Grief Karga is asking Mando about. He kind of offers this thing and says, hey, things are changing. And as I said, Navarro's been rebranded, but it's something to think about. Maybe his life would be very different and he could do those things. You remember when he was in the school, the previous season, and, they brought him over to the school, and I was like, good, he's in school. He's going to learn because he's in school. But I think he's surpassed the point of where he's going to be stealing somebody's cookies or doing anything like that. I think he really wants to learn. We see Mando kind of teaching him. You had mentioned that before, the importance of seeing where he's being taught by Mando, who has a lot of knowledge. But I'm hoping we do see more growth. And something that I noticed, Lorena, was that Mando is still very much in the dark about things. And I just wish there was somewhere he could go or find out more so he can kind of make more informed decisions or get some more help. So I'm not worried. Is he going to survive? Of course, he's a survivor. He's going to be fine. But boy, things always seem to be so hard for Mando.
Yeah. And I almost want to say that the reason that it is so difficult for him is because he is a foundling, I would say. It's almost as if he feels even deeper of an obligation to follow the ways of the Mandalorian, but in some ways he's still kind of like an outsider in a way. But that makes the viewer actually more interested. You're interested in the guy who's been in it for like who knows how long, or we'll say the alien, for lack of a better term, someone who gets, adopted in and isn't, wasn't born in that way, but is learning, that way. And we see how dogmatic he is about, why is your helmet, removed? When he's talking to Bo-Katan, and she's just like, basically, you're from that darn cult. What do you know? That's an interesting juxtaposition there between the two of them. But yeah, they don't really. It's like Mando has to pull information out. It's not freely offered, and I don't know again because I have not read any of the EU novels about the Mandalorian. Is it that they're on and you'll understand when I say this, need to know basis? It
Right.
seems that that's how they operate, on a need to know basis. If you don't bring it up, I'm not saying anything. And even if you do, I have to decide if this is something that I should tell you or not. Like when he says, I find evidence of, that these baths exist on the surface of a Mandalore, and I bathe in it. Will I be redeemed? And she's just like, this is the way. She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. She didn't say it's a fool's errand. She didn't say, look, this is stupid. It's not there. It makes no sense for you to go. She just has that rote answer.
Yeah, and that is very interesting. And we were talking about this and how she's, it feels so indefinite for him. I honestly, I thought when he started the clan of two, the clan of the Mudhorn, that he would be his own clan and kind of be separate from Children of the Watch. But he seems to want to still be part of this group. So, and
Mhm.
he does come back. And I talked to you about how, and of course everybody knows this, but whenever he would get a bounty, he would share it with everybody. And I don't even know whether the rest of the Mandos are still doing stuff like that. I mean, ironically, we saw in the episode where these pirates kind of returned, and Grief Karga was like, "Hey, Navarro's gone legit. So,
Mhm.
you guys have to forget about getting jobs now. I don't do that kind of work anymore. However, if you're interested in a timeshare, I'd be glad to sell you a piece of land right here on Navarro." Like it was, he's just so cool and slick and everything. But I'm wondering, one thing that I did notice, though, however, was that I was glad to see the Mandalorians and that they're surviving and the ceremonies are still going on. So that was
Mhm.
something that was incredibly satisfying to me, because I thought to myself, gee, if at the very least, if they can't, if we saw were like that big pile of helmets from previous episodes, and now we can kind of see, oh look, there are some, and then they had this
Mhm.
kind of thing where they came out with the drums and it was like, oh, like kind of music, and I was like, yes, it's ritualistic and this is so cool. I want to be a Mandalorian. Like it was, it was a lot of fun to watch. So I do like that they put that in there, and I hope we see a lot more of that cultural stuff. But the last
Mhm.
thing that I was going to say is really has to do with Bo-Katan, and I kind of passed by her photo a few times, but the thing that stood out to me, and I've kind of been saying this before. Oh, was that the only picture of her? Um,
Really, the only one? Okay.
yeah, here's one. I'm sorry. I thought to myself was, where is her mojo? Like she needs to get her mojo back. And she kind of, is smirking or is a little snarky when she talks about how the reason why the Mandalore fell was because of, clans like Death Watch, or, the Children of the Watch. And I thought to myself,
Mhm.
well, weren't you there too? Like you were like in the thick of this. Come on. You were literally pivotal in this. What do you think about the way that she's kind of pushing aside her role and all that?
It just doesn't seem like her. Granted, I haven't read the EU novel, so if I'm going on just from what I see in The Mandalorian, that self-assured person, even though she lost the dark saber, okay, that person is seems to be gone here. It's kind of like whatever, you know, they all left because it's your fault. You got the dark saber now. Whatever. Go find them. Go find them to go help you. I can't help you. It just had this kind of like ennui that just didn't really sit right with me. So it's kind of like where are they going with with this? Even if she's, purposely being vague just to kind of say, okay, well let's see where he goes. You didn't kind of get that there was an ulterior motive. You didn't get that there was any motive except that she's just like, you know, I hate you because you have the dark saber now, and I don't because I didn't win at combat, and it was just really bland. If there was any serious ding about this episode, I would say, what was the real significance about this scene?
Yeah, this is a good point. I'm guessing maybe she'll try and follow them. I don't know, but she
Hmm.
seems to be, all alone, and nobody was there, and it's just she's very, very, we know she wants that dark saber. It's something that I'm sure we're going to find out in the next episode because they're going to have to go there with Bo-Katan and try and figure out what is it exactly. She is her next move. I think that if it's been 2 years, as they said, it's been 2 years. It doesn't feel like 2 years to me, but they said it's been 2 years.
Hmm.
She needs to really take action soon. But that palace of hers, her sitting up in her palace, I don't feel sorry for her. Like she looks like
No, I
she's
don't.
miserable. You know, I just almost I know she wants that thing so badly, but gee, she really is kind of very comfortable with her own place. Things are looking good for her. So I'm just a little, perplexed by her attitude, but it is what it is. It was a good episode. I'm happy I watched it. It certainly was great. And so, guys, I would recommend watching it. I think I know some people didn't care for it, but I thought it was entertaining. I thought they did a good job with the premiere, as you did as well, Lorena.
Yeah, it was a good watch.
Yeah, it was. And the last thing that I want to talk about has to do with a show called The Last of Us. Lorena, you and I have been watching it, doing watch
Hmm.
party. You've graciously been taking time out of your Sundays to spend like an hour and a half watching The Last of Us series. And we watched one of the most recent episodes, which was episode 8 of The Last of Us. And I'm trying to pull up this article, but it's showing up with like a darker uh, background, but I'm just going to pull it up anyway. And I can't get rid of the ad because I just can't. But my point is that this was a very popular episode for The Last of Us. They said that it had a high viewership of 8.1 million viewers, and that was up 74% from the season premiere. Um, which is astounding. And I know that there's a lot of things in it that you and I have talked about that we would like to see very specifically in this show, that we felt they could have revved it up a bit. They could have increased the intensity. They could have increased a lot of things. But this was a show that had none of the clickers in it, but was incredibly intense. You and I watched it. It was like bone tingling. I'm going to have to say it correctly. It was amazing. They said it was the penultimate episode of The Last of Us season 1. It reached an impressive 8.1 million viewers on Sunday night, and
Hmm.
it was the most viewed so far. That belonged to episode 4, which had 7.1 million. And honestly, the show is going to end. It's going to end literally next week, Lorena. I can't even believe it. The idea that this show that we've been watching is going to end pretty soon. I had looked, this was a show that I couldn't wait to see, and for rightful reasons, I was very excited about it. Play the game, um,
Hmm.
and I felt like it had lost a little bit of its momentum. But after last night's show, I feel like they're right back on track. And now I'm like, gee, how is this going to wrap up? Lorena, what did you think of last night's episode?
Last night's episode is probably my favorite episode because, granted, I like the clickers. I really do. I really do. It's like, show me lots of zombies. The only thing more deadly than a zombie are people with ulterior motives. So you
Yes.
got to see, basically, I called it a cult. It reminded me of, like Waco and David Koresh and all, and all of that. You have one person who has such psychological control over a whole community of people. It is just scary. And I love how they set it up. It's like people were even scared to do anything without this guy giving his say so. The fact that they didn't even all start to eat until he sat down.
Yes. Yes.
The way that was conveyed, it's just like I'd shoot. I'd rather just have a clicker come at me so I could just shoot it rather than deal with this craziness that was going on. So the whole psychological tension, psychological terror through this whole episode was done extremely well. Extremely well.
It really was. And of course, we've been expecting things like this throughout the whole episodes, through the series rather, and we haven't necessarily gotten that level of intensity for whatever reason through this show. However, it hasn't stopped us from watching the show, and we have been enjoying a lot of stuff that was going on. So there is that. But I think it's very interesting when we look at these shows and kind of like what they're trying to provide to us for a
Hmm.
game that was so incredibly popular. We know that there are more video game adaptations on the way. We already know there's a season 2 coming up. What are you expecting from the last episode? If I haven't already asked you this question, I didn't ask you this question. What does this finale need to include, Lorena, to make this kind of come to a conclusion that makes
Gosh.
sense, but is still very exciting?
This episode has to have crazy people, clickers, situations that just seem to get worse and worse and worse and worse in a good way. Like, oh my God, they got through that. Oh shoot, now this is going on too. Literally, all hell needs to break loose. And by the end of the episode, you don't know. I mean, granted, yeah, there's a second sequel game. We know that. But granted, you're left figuring out, did they make it? Literally, that's the question you're left with. Did they make it? Now, they do that. They need to end on the same gut punch that House of the Dragon did.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Yeah. If they could do that, I would be pleased as punch. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed because I like this IP so much. It certainly is holding me in suspense, and I won't even be able to watch it because next Sunday, when we normally do our watch party, I'm going to be doing Oscars party, so we won't be watching. At least I won't be watching that finale till the Monday night. And if to try to avoid spoilers, oh my gosh, it's just
Yeah,
too
I'm gonna
much.
try to avoid spoilers. I'm gonna be at Disney World. I'm trying to avoid spoilers.
Well, Lorena, thank you for joining me tonight for Ladies of the PGS. And I just want to say it's such a pleasure, as always, to have you here. Lorena, where can people
Yeah.
find you?
Well, folks, of course, you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Instagram, and of course, you can find me on YouTube for various videos, live streams with lots of special guests. Of course, her is a permanent fixture on my channel for certain videos and live streams. And of course, catch me here, Ladies of the PGS, on Monday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern. Also, a couple of other special things on the Burnettwork. Like we just did a watch party for the movie Megan. Oh my God, it's great.
So
You got to
good.
go back and watch
It's so good.
that.
And we have another one coming up on the 18th, guys. So
Yes.
Smile, right here on the PGS. Lorraine and I are doing our Saturday horror
Mhm.
watch for Saturday, March 18th at 5 p.m. right here on the Burnettwork. Smile. I haven't seen it. You haven't seen it. It's going to be so much fun
No.
to see that. And we're going to continue with a lot of those. But Lorraine and I also are doing PGS moving image episodes. We have the Conjuring one that has not aired that's coming up, as well as the Wizarding World for Harry Potter. Um,
Mhm.
Guys, so do please like and subscribe to Lorena's channel. It's right here in the chat. But also like and subscribe to Positive Fandom, which is my YouTube channel, and like and subscribe to the Burnettwork. Guys, I'm going to continue to bring you guys content here. Ladies of the PGS, Lavinia and I are having so much fun doing this show. Thank you so
Yes.
much for the support, for the super chat from John Superly tonight.
Yes. Thank you.
And from Tom Jr. Jackson, we are all goof people, my moderator and my collaborator and friend. And also, please do subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson's channel as well. Guys, I'm doing live watch parties for The Mandalorian on my channel, but also for Star Trek Picard too, early in the morning. Here is Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel. Guys, please like and subscribe to him. as well. And once again, everybody, thank you so much for stopping by for Ladies of the PGS. It's been such a pleasure for all of you who are here live and who watch this later. Thank you so much for your support. And guys, remember, no matter where you are in the galaxy, always remember to please be kind. Take care, everybody.
Bye.